On this episode, I do my first show with over 1,000 subscribers. Ooh. Hey everybody, and welcome to Finish Friday, the show where we help more creative people change more lives. I am your host, Todd B from Tennessee, and before we get too much further, I have to remind you to register for the book giveaway down below. I've only got a week left and I'm keeping the contest open, so make sure you get down there and do that before we go any further. Other than that, man, not too much going on in my house. We, of course, have the trees up and decorated. We've got the dog who has his Christmas collar. We've got the stocking hung for the cat. So that's pretty much how that works. We don't have human babies. So, you know, we take care of our fur babies for Christmas. I hope you're having an amazing December. And with that, let's get into today's topic. Since we're around the holidays, I want to address something that's probably on some of your minds. This is the time of year where we're reflecting, right? And we're remembering people that we lost. And for a lot of us, the holiday season brings just as much pain as it does joy. And I think a lot of times the typical advice around that is you got to get over it, right? But let me just say that as an artist, that is the worst choice you can make. Look, whether you're going through heartbreak or hope, whether you're going through tragedy or triumph this holiday season, we need you to be transparent with that in your art. I mean, Charles Dickens had his heart broken by a woman when he was young, and now some of the greatest literature ever sprang from that. Sylvia Plath's husband cheated on her, and the result of that led to her work Ariel, which is debatably the best thing she did in her career. And Frida Kahlo had polio as a child, broke her pelvis as a teenager, went through an abortion, a miscarriage, and all kinds of infertility issues, and she brought that into her work. And look, this is not about trivializing the pain. This is about memorializing that pain and that tragedy in your art. And when you could bring it into your art, that's when the real raw stuff gets out. And so this Christmas, I want to encourage you to allow that pain, allow that tragedy to be a part of who you are, and then produce work that's worthy of that memory. It's December and I'm freezing all the time, which naturally makes me want to drink coffee all the time, but I always get like a little wired and tweaky when I do that. So I switched to like this dandelion blend kind of thing, and it's not bad actually. I don't know if I could replace it, but it certainly is taking the edge off. This week's question of the week comes from David, and David asks, I'm not terribly comfortable with self-promotion, but I think it's an important skill these days. How does a person who's not very comfortable tooting his or her own horn get over that? David, I know this is a very real problem for most of us, because for the majority of the people who watch this show and myself, the joy is not in marketing the thing, the joy is in creating the thing. And so I have a couple pieces of advice that I think will help with that. And the first one actually came from my Facebook page. I had a comment on a post and Malia said, good advertisement is art too. And I really love that, because when you pour yourself into the craft, even if that craft is sales and marketing, you're going to feel a little bit better about it. And the second piece of advice is to just say facts. Like, I didn't make up the fact that I had the #1 post in the world on CNBC. That happened. I didn't make up that 2 million people saw my work. That happened. And I didn't make up the fact that my following on Medium is almost 4 times the size of the town I grew up in. Those are all just facts. If you just say facts about where you are and what you've done, it always works, because we're in an age where people have to have transparency. They're not gonna buy the BS trumped up stuff. So that's what I would do, is I would pour myself into the creative part of sales and marketing, and then I would just make sure that I am telling the truth and stating facts. And if you do those things, I think selling yourself gets a lot easier. This week's Artist Spotlight goes on a man who is almost synonymous with Christmas himself. I've mentioned him in the show once already, and that is the legendary Charles Dickens. A lot of us know that he's produced a whole lot of work over his career, but what we may not know is that this guy is pretty much responsible for the serial storytelling of novels, right? Whenever he was getting started, he would publish a chapter at a time in newspapers, and he also really deployed the cliffhanger when nobody else was to make sure people stayed hooked on his stuff. And frankly, like, I think it's a total tragedy that we had to read this stuff in high school because it was completely lost on me. Like, 15-year-old Todd was not digging that stuff. And as I'm reading Great Expectations and The Christmas Carol, of course, like, dude is actually hilarious. I just never got it when I was a kid. And before I get off this, I want to throw out one quote that I found when I was researching him. And it said, "Dickens lacked a clear, specific sense of what he wanted to become, and yet he knew he wanted fame." And to me, that sounds like every creative ever. Like, we all want we want to be seen for our work, even if we're not sure exactly what that's going to look like. And Dickens himself actually tried to be an actor before he was a writer, but some audition fell through. He got into writing instead. And I think we can all join in saying, thank God for that. That's it for episode 47. Thank you so much for watching. As always, before you get out of here, make sure you answer this question in our Ask the Audience. Who inspired you today? I'm looking forward to seeing who you guys are inspired by today. Leave a comment down below. I'll try to get back with everyone who posts. And of course, thumbs up this show if you liked it. Again, I'm Todd B from Tennessee, and I will talk with you next week.